I mean, it was as low as 17,000 this year.
Sure. Well, Joe, I'm not one to make price predictions, but I do think there is a lot of optimism again in the market. I think a lot of investors are adding Bitcoin to their portfolios. And when we look ahead to the hopeful approval for spot Bitcoin ETFs, it really is going to unlock the opportunity to a part of the investment community that, for better or worse, but I would say for worse, has unfortunately been locked out of the opportunity to participate in having Bitcoin exposure in their portfolios. So we're really talking about the advised market here in the US, which is today about $30 trillion worth of advised wealth that we hope the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs, the uplisting of GBTC, will allow for that opportunity and for those investors to partake in it as well.
And with that, what's happening, Crypto Crew? Sean's coming back at you, another cryptocurrency video. With that little brief clip we showed you that there is a lot of interest. There's a lot of interest from the institutions. There's a lot of interest, not so much in retail, as you see right here. Retail isn't back yet. That's the thing. There's a lot of pent-up demand from institutions waiting to get into this game. This is the Google Trends interest over the past 5 years. So right now, we're at 24. And if you look back in the charts, you can see 24 is around the ranges we were back in the 2019 bear market. So we haven't got too euphoric from the retail side. So when retails pair with institution, what's going to happen? Taking a look at the Bitcoin price. We want to show you this. At the current time it's recording, Bitcoin's coming in at 42,742. And we've been looking at different oscillators. You see the RSI still stair-stepping its way up. The RSI could have a pullback. We could see something like this, where we actually have a pullback in the price action, and the price might come back down and retest some levels, but then it'll continue to stair-step its way up going into 2024 post-halving. And this one down here, this is the stochastic RSI, is overbought. So we need to have this back down here and reset. This is on the weekly, so it may take a month or two for this to play out. Now, what does this look like with the price action? That's the big question. Bitcoin can do one of two things. Bitcoin, just because this falls down, doesn't mean the price is going to fall back down to this trend line. It could just trade sideways a little bit. It could have some chop, which this could be good for the alt market or not potentially, but we have to wait and see how it plays out, because if Bitcoin falls down, say back down to the low 30s, it's probably going to pull the entire market back down with it. But look at this pattern that we found. If we do have this stair step and then put in a new all-time high around or right before or right after the halving, we could come back up and retest around the $65,000 to $70,000 range and get a rejection, because that's a major level of confluence. And if we get a rejection, people might think that this is over. But look what happens. If this plays out this way, we could have this inverse head and shoulders pattern play out. So if that's the case, pulling it down to the lowest level and pulling it up to where the neckline would be, and then also where the breakout point would be, where this orange line is, let's see exactly where this would take us up to. This would take us up to almost perfectly this diagonal from the previous peaks. We want to put a peak here. So look at this. This isn't a coincidence. You have the 2017 peak, the 2021 peak. You just connect these and extend the line. This takes the price action all the way up to about $280,000 to $300,000. And this inverse head and shoulders pattern could have Bitcoin sent up that high. So is this what's in the cards for Bitcoin? Taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance, we do see that the dominance almost is reset on the stochastic, and we're just still putting in higher highs and higher lows. And the one area we have to pay attention to, zooming into this price action, we can see this upwards green line, this trend line. This is a trend. The trend's your friend to the end. If we continue just to stair step our way up, we want to pay attention at this 54 level. If we break through this, then we'll have a definite continuation. We'll find out by no later than January 1st or January 8th, because we're getting closer to this apex, getting squeezed here. And when Bitcoin breaks this, we might trade sideways for a little bit and then start to put in lower lows and lower highs. That's when the alt market's going to get ready to rip. Total 3 minus USDT over Bitcoin. Look at here. The stochastic, once again, is overbought. So Will we get this reset, and what will this look like? Will we still stay and put in a higher low here, or will we break down? And will this falling wedge break down as well? And will we come back down and test lower levels, or will we fall into this wedge? There's a lot of just waiting and being patient. Right now, you just want to sit in your hands. You don't want to make too many sudden moves, but you could start dipping into some alts and start dollar cost averaging in, because either way you cut the cloth, this total 3 chart still looks bullish over the next 12 to 18 months. So keep this in mind. Without further ado, let's hear from Michael Saylor and get the latest from him on the market.
There's a lot of uncertainty around the rest of the crypto ecosystem, but the one certain element of the ecosystem is Bitcoin is universally acclaimed to be a global commodity or an asset without an issuer. So the one thing we can count on is Bitcoin goes forward in the year 2024, and the strategy built around Bitcoin is generally a pretty safe one for institutions.
New rules, speaking of regulations, recently announced by the Financial Accounting Standards Board, the FASB, that are going to require companies to account for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin at fair value. Set to go into effect, these rules, in the next year or so, but companies can begin to apply them earlier than that. How is that going to affect MicroStrategy?
You know, we welcome fair value accounting. It's gonna create much more transparency and clarity in P&Ls and balance sheets for any companies that are holding Bitcoin. I think the real significance is that there are companies like Berkshire Hathaway and Apple Computer that have $100 billion plus in cash. And right now they have to invest it in treasuries and sovereign debt. And with this change in fair value accounting, you're going to have a commodity that's valued as fair value, and it becomes a legitimate treasury reserve asset for publicly traded companies. We're going through a digital transformation of everything. Apple represents a digital transformation of telephones and cameras, and Google's the transformation of books and libraries. Bitcoin represents a digital transformation of capital. 99.9% of the capital in the world is tied up in real estate and stocks and precious metals and bonds. And so we're 0.1% transformed. People, as they get educated on digital assets, are realizing that they ought to be allocating more and more of their capital to this digital asset. And so they're moving from 0.1 to 0.2%. And I think that's really driving the trend. I've said before, if Bitcoin's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million. The real question is it legitimate asset? If it's a legitimate institutional asset, everybody is underallocated to it.
And there you have it from Michael Saylor. If it's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million. And did you hear him mention companies like Apple that have $100 billion in liquid cash just sitting on the sidelines waiting to pour in? What's going to happen when the ETF passes? It might not happen overnight, but it could be a bullish indication of what's to come. And with that, I'm Sean with the Bitcoin Bros. You guys like this content, go ahead and smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and show us some love. We appreciate the support. With that, that's all I have for you today, and I'm out.